everyone. Thank you so much for being here for the Adult Forum, where the youth will speak today about their trip to Boys Home. I'm Lauren, and I'd like to introduce who it was her idea for us to go on this trip this year, and so I'm going to give her a chance to tell us a little bit about why she wanted to go on this trip to the Boys Home of Virginia. Go ahead.
I was really excited to take our trip to Boys Home. So Boys Home is a residential school in southwestern Virginia. It's about 10 minutes from the West Virginia border, and it's for boys who, for whatever reason, can't live at home. So some of them, it's unsafe for them to live at home, or their parents can't support them, or they had unsuccessful adoptions. There's a lot of reasons why someone might end up at Boys Home. But it's a school, so they take all their classes there. They do religious education, social emotional education, and then trades classes, so that they can be prepared to go to trade school or into the military or to college afterward. And so I was really excited. I first became involved with Boys Home when my godfather became the director in 2021. So we visited my freshman year in 2022 and then again in 2023. And it was really striking to me just the difference that the years had made since he'd been there. So Chris added a lot of the social emotional learning aspects. They have sports teams now. They've been accredited as an independent school, and he really just made it feel more like a school and more of a place of hope for the boys that were there. So I first talked to Lauren about coming to Boys Home about a year and a half ago. I was really excited after going over spring break, and I wanted to see if there was a way that the youth could get more involved. And so I was super excited when she agreed to take our mission trip there. And then we worked on how we were going to theme the trip around living a purposeful life. So each day we focused on different aspects of that, like service and connection and courage and creativity. And I think it was really successful, and I'm so happy that everyone decided to come with us.
So the youth decided that they wanted to share their experience with you through the themes that we lived out each day, the themes of things that make a purposeful life. So that means that they will tell you their story a little bit out of chronological order, but based more on the experiences that we had on theme. But before we get into that, I just want to let you know we're going to interview them panel style. So we'll start with the theme of service, which we believe makes a purposeful life. As you know, service is an important part of everything we do in our faith. But this, I want to be clear, was not a mission trip. It was a service. It wasn't a service trip. It was a pilgrimage. So even though service was an important aspect, we wanted to focus on building community. Still, while we were there, we did a pretty big project.
So our primary project that we worked on was constructing a tiny home for additional staff housing. A lot of the staff members at Boys Home, they lived on campus in the same houses that the boys did, or they lived off campus, but we tried to work on constructing some additional ones. When we got there, it was like very bare bones. There was the structure, there was some of the floors, but by the time that we left, we were able to like put in floors, walls, and even some part of the ceiling. So it was very rewarding to see our like hard work go into something very physical. We were led by Mr. Surratt, who was the director of like trades and stuff, and he taught a lot of the boys about construction. We were also led by some of the kids that took his trade class. Two of like the main ones was a boy named Josiah and a boy named Sean, and they were very patient with us and very helpful in teaching us about construction and about all of these interesting things that I don't think I would have ever like even considered looking at if I hadn't been there.
Does anyone want to add to that? Anything about building the tiny home? You guys will get to see pictures of all of this later. I have a slideshow at the end. Thank you for mentioning Mr. Surratt. He was one of the key important people that we met while we were there, that we spent a lot of time with. And can you tell us about Mr. Surratt and some of the other people we met?
Mr. Surratt led us on building the tiny home. On one of the first days we were there, we went to his workshop with some of the boys, and the home was panelized construction, so the boys and him had already made panels of the house, so all we had to do was put it together in the woods. So Mr. Surratt was really helpful with that, and he taught us a lot, like basics about construction. He gave us all the supplies we needed. He was very nice and very fun to talk to. And then we also met a lot of other helpful staff members. When we first got there, we met Mr. and Mrs. Doyle, her godparents, and who were very nice. And just it struck me how all the staff members were like such a family to all the boys there, and even to us. They were just very kind, and like you could tell all the boys like really respected them and looked up to them, but also loved them very much. They were all very kind people. And another staff member that we spent time with was Mr. C. He was like the activity recreation director who actually went to Boys Home when he was growing up. And he like let us out canoeing, which someone will talk about, canoeing and kayaking. We went to the pool. We went hiking, a lot of different things. It was very nice to spend time with them that way. And I also spent many meals with Miss Jefferson, who I think her mom might have, or her sister, or someone.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was her husband who grew up there. Yeah.
Grew up at Boys Home. So she was connected in that way. All the staff was connected in very amazing ways. And we spent a lot of time with her. She was very caring to all the boys and caring to us too. And she like set out s'mores for us. She did a lot of nice things for us. So it was very nice.
Does anyone want to talk about the cafeteria, ladies?
Yeah, they were just great. My mom and I have a lot of like weird dietary restrictions, and they went out and got us all food the first day, and it was just super sweet of them.
They just really went out of their way to be helpful. The whole community felt like a place where service was their focus. So we came to do service for them, but they spent a lot of time doing service for us also. The next topic is creativity and creation. And, we think about creation everywhere because there's beautiful things in nature all around us. But when you're in a gorgeous place like the Appalachian Mountains, you kind of can't help but think about all the natural beauty. Can you tell us about all of the beautiful things surrounding the campus and how big the campus is?
They have 1,200 acres. So when we're on campus, we can see this huge mountain, and they just own the whole mountain, which I thought was really cool. So we spent a lot of time outside. One of my favorite activities was the hike. So we drove about 45 minutes, and we took this beautiful hike, and we ended up at a big waterfall that was sort of like a rock slide, and a bunch of the boys would just go down it over and over again. I did not get in, but they had fun, and it was just beautiful. Another one of my favorites was we did an outdoor Eucharist. They have a chapel on the mountain, and then another one right outside of campus. So Gabriel led us in a Eucharist outside on the evening of our last day, and it was really nice to be able to spend that time with all the boys that we had become friends with, and I just thought it was a really beautiful way to end our trip.
Does anyone want to add anything about the beautiful scenery? There was a creek right on campus that was gorgeous. We're going to move on to courage. Well, I feel like we should talk about the horses. Does anyone want to talk about the outdoor space, the farm that we worked on?
So they had a farm there, and at one point the boys had, unprompted said, do you want to go see them? And there were a bunch of horses. There was one place where there was a dog, and then all her puppies. And we just got to, hang out, and they showed us, how they take the eggs from the chickens, and then they'll sell them, and then all of the, the goats. And there were just so many different animals, and I think that really added to, the experience. And we also met the people that, worked on the farm, the boys, they each have individual jobs, and they showed us their jobs and what they did in the farm.
Okay, we're gonna move on to courage. And it's actually your turn to talk again, sorry. We can't take it for granted that traveling is easy for everyone because it's not. On trips like these, you don't know what the leaders have planned for you. You don't know whether or not you're going to have fun or get along with everyone there, or even if you'll be comfortable in the space where you're sleeping. It's a lot to ask of people to come on a trip like this, and I was wondering if you would talk about stepping outside of a comfort zone.
I had never really done a trip where I left my family. Growing up, I just did gymnastics camp, so I never did a sleepaway camp. So this was really my first time going away, and it was kind of, decently far away, a 6 to 7 hour drive. And then, and I think that at first I was really nervous just to be far away from everybody, but we kept doing a ton of stuff. There was lots of stuff planned by Lauren and by everyone around us, and I think the fact that we always had stuff to do really takes your mind off of the fact that you're far away from your family. And it was always fun stuff to do. It was never anything where I was really, anxious about having to do something. It was always something that I knew had a purpose and that was fun and also the community was really welcoming. All of the boys were really nice, and they always like talked to us the whole time, and it never really felt like there was any sort of disconnect between us. It just felt like we formed a big group, and even our group together, I think that really helped, that we all felt like a big community.
We did another courageous thing we went on a rafting, canoeing, kayaking trip. Can you tell us about it?
So as a group, we all went on like a kayaking, like river rafting trip. And so like, but there were a lot of rapids. So there's a lot of people capsizing and whatnot. And so like we had to adapt to a lot of like the bad things that happened, because like one kid, his MP3 player like fell out of the boat. So that was something. And then like 2 people's canoes just started filling with water. And so they'd like triple up on some canoes. So that was a whole thing. Yeah. But I think that like we adapted pretty well, because like halfway through we just started messing around. We just had like, we made like a whole like train out of all the canoes and kayaks. Because that also allowed us to like carry behind all the empty ones. So we also went like way over the time slot, but that like that's partially because of like the aforementioned difficulties we had, but also like everyone was just having a lot of fun. So no one really cared, and everyone was really taking their time.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a much more difficult kayaking, canoeing trip than I expected. Mr. saw us through, and of course we had lifeguards around, but a lot of us fell in the water, and it was dramatic, and it was a little bit scary, but we were all brave and lived through it. We got to dinner like 2 hours late maybe, but that's okay. We were with the people in charge, so we were all good. All right, and we'll bring it home with our final theme, which is connection, because this trip was all about making connections, building connections between people. I wanted this group of kids to feel closer to one another, closer to God, and really, really close to the people that they met at Boys Home. So I was wondering if any of you could speak about people that you met and that you're still connected to while you were at Boys Home.
Connections that we were able to sustain even after leaving. It's been like since June, and we're still pretty close with everyone that we met there. For example, the day before Thanksgiving, and I got to go and hang out with one of the kids that we met there named Sean. We went bowling, we went to Sephora. He didn't have a good time, but we were having a great time. And I absolutely demolished everyone at bowling.
Some of the boys made a Snapchat group chat, and it gets crazy at times, but it's still a way that we can still be close and connect to each other.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of us, I think, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think we're hopeful that when we go next year, we'll get to see the same kids again, right? All right, and we've talked, can someone talk about a little bit more in depth, maybe I will, metaphorical depth. These kids, we got there, and our kids, we had a big age range span. We had 4 high school seniors and 3 middle schoolers, and it felt awkward at first. We did some good jobs like bridging ourselves together, and then we showed up, and then there's 10 more kids that we've never met before that we also need to bring into community. By the end of the week, or by end of Wednesday, these kids were all in the middle of the water, the rapids that were going way too fast. They had climbed into each other's boats and were sprawled out and made this big, huge blob of boats that floated down the water. Everyone together, all of them. There were some of the boys from Boys Home in the girls' boats and some of the girls in the boys' boats, and they were all just having a blast. And it was a really beautiful symbol of the way that they came together and built a community. I think, is there anything else that any of you guys want to add before I show the slideshow of you guys having fun on the trip? It's an awesome video. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Here's my next thing, which is about connection. The other thing about connection was that there was a really special moment that I want all of you to hear about. Can you tell us about Ryan?
She's really good at doing like icebreakers, and she can talk to anybody.
Yes.
So earlier in the week, she had sat everyone down, and she was asking where everyone was from, because like at Boys Home, they're from all over the place. And Ryan had said like, so someone was like, oh, like I'm from Virginia or I'm from Kentucky. And this boy, Ryan, he was, I think your age, right? And he had said like, oh, I was born in jail. And we were all like, oh, okay. But he was really excited because his birthday was later that week. And so she did a really nice thing. And do you want to?
Sure. So I was at lunch and I overheard maybe Catherine something say or something like, oh, it's Ryan's birthday. And then that day I sat everyone down and said, hey, it's his birthday. Let's sing happy birthday. And then when we sang happy birthday, he immediately started crying because earlier he said that it was his first birthday away from home. So I thought it'd make him feel special and make him a card.
And it was really sweet.
It was a really sweet moment. It was really sweet. He was very vulnerable, sharing his truth with all of us, and he was overwhelmed with emotion, and it was just so special to get to share that moment with him. So thank you guys. Thanks. All right. If you guys want to move, I'm sure you want to see these pictures of yourselves. If you want to, I'm going to show a slideshow of their trip.
Can't cut a rug, watching you's the only drug I need. So gangsta, I'm so I'm dreaming of you. See, I can be myself now finally.
Thank you all for being here. Are there any questions for the kids?
How many boys go to the school year-round?
So they have space for 45 during the school year. I think their enrollment's at like 30 right now. And then there were about 15 of them who stayed over the summer, and then some of them had jobs, so we were with 10 that were there.
Would you want to go back next summer, and if so, why?
And if not, why not?
I would say I want to go back and make more connections with the boys and like pick back up where we left off in conversations.
I thought it was a lot of fun, and also I want to see a lot of the people again. But I also think what we did was pretty important, like the service trip and like the mission and all that. But also just like the other stuff we did too.
We've got 4 high school seniors that went on this trip, and I'm sure you guys are thinking about what next year is going to look like and all of that schedule stuff.
How far along is the tiny house project yet?
Right. So the tiny house project, when we left, it was all of the panels had gone up. It was difficult to put the roof on. Mr. helped a lot because he has a lot of carpentry experience, but we didn't get to do any of the interior work on that. I'm not sure where it's at now. We'll have to ask Mr. Doyle and find out. Do you guys have any update? Ann and Patrick, maybe? No? Maybe more for next summer. The tiny home was there, it's for staff, because the mountain itself is so isolated. It's hard to get up there if you work there, you need a place to stay, especially during the winter. So we were building them for staff. Gabriel, do you want to add something?
I remember them saying that the plan was to have it completely built by the start of the school year.
Right.
So the staff members could use it.
Right.
Presumably it's built.
Yeah, hopefully. And I think that they want to put in a few more, too. Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge that people faced? They talked a lot about the joy, but where did they find difficulty?
I actually found it remarkably easy to get along with the people that we met, but I think like breaking the ice with any new group of people, especially a group of middle school boys, is like, it's a difficult thing to do, but I feel like eventually we did get people to open up to us, and we had room for like lots of wonderful conversations. So to answer your question, it wasn't that challenging.
I feel like at first it was kind of challenging just going in, like walking in like cold, like not knowing anyone, but also another challenge is probably like we had a limited amount of time there, so I kind of wish that we had like more time to help with the tiny home, or like more time to like do more service, but which was a challenge for me.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I also will say that the facilities that we stayed in were the cottages that the boys live in. There are like 6 of them, cottages for the boys live as like family units. And so we stayed in one of the cottages that had maybe 7 bedrooms. But they were definitely designed for boys to live there. And most of us were girls, and it was a little bit tricky, the bathroom situation especially, I'd say. So, yeah. But we got it down with lots of help from Mrs. Jefferson, super helpful. Well, thank you guys for being such a great audience and for supporting these guys on their trip.